Hello, welcome to another Tweedy Outdoors video. This is a rather slapdash one, I'm afraid. I pretty much just headed to Paddington this morning and took a look at the departure boards for the trains and figured out on the spot where to go. And I've somehow ended up here at Kingham in the Cotswolds. This is a walk I have actually done before to go and visit the Rollright Stones, but it was before I had a YouTube channel, so there is no video evidence of it. It was a few years back now, and I thought I would retrace those steps, or perhaps a slightly different walk, go and revisit the Rollright Stones. While I'm out, as always, I will be doing a little bit of outdoor cooking. I've noticed on the map this part of Oxfordshire there is very little open access land. I'm sure it would be fine to just sit by a path, but the one tiny corner of open access land I did find is actually very close to Kingham station, so I've hardly done any walking at all yet. But this is where the branch line of the now defunct Chipping Norton Railway split off from the main line at Kingham, and there's this tiny little triangular shaped piece of open access land that almost makes a shortcut to the station, but sort of frustratingly doesn't actually seem to be a good way at the other end to get into the station. So I'm actually going to, unusually, I think, do the cooking at the start of the walk. Hopefully today, after last time's cooking failure, this is going to be a very, very simple meal. It is the turn of Germany, or possibly the German-speaking parts of Switzerland, to feature culinarily on Tweedy Outdoors. Although actually I think this is made in Italy, this particular Spätzle. Spätzle, I've never really been sure how to pronounce that. It's a sort of German-style pasta, little dumplings. And this one has, they're normally, you know, pale, whitey, sort of yellowy kind of colour, but these are with some spinach in, so they've got this green colour to them. I'm going to keep this really simple. These are actually pan-friable, which is great, so I don't need to struggle getting a pan of water to come to the boil. I have a bit of Emmental to grate on top, and some fried onions. I've cheated and just bought the pre-cooked ones. A bit of butter to fry it in. Käsespätzle, is it called? Käsespätzle? I can't pronounce German. Cheesy noodles. Käsespätzle, something like that, I think it's called. Really simple. Just going to pan fry them a bit, the Spätzle, to heat them up. Melt some cheese on top. Sprinkle with some onions. That's it. No messing about. Light up this gas stove. Gone back to the frying pan. Seems more appropriate for Käsespätzle. Pan goes on there. Unhealthy looking blob of butter. Did I actually bring a knife? I don't think I did, thinking I didn't need one for a change. Oh well, I've got my my trusty Leatherman Swiss Army knife type device. Looks like quite a lot of butter now, doesn't it? This is a dish I associate with the Swiss Alps. Should we pour in some of that Spätzle? I'm just going to stick the lot in. It's probably a bit too much for one person, but can't really take it home. Apparently only needs about 3 minutes of pan frying. Some Spätzle pan frying there. Next job is to grate some cheese. Brought the big cheese grater with me. Brilliant footage. So much easier with a proper sized grater. Big pile of cheese there. I don't think this is going to need much longer before I can just throw that on top. Comes a gratuitous amount of cheese. Probably more than I really need for that amount of Spätzle. So we put on that sprinkle of these fried onions now as well. This is the traditional recipe. It has these sort of fried onion bits. I don't know if I'd bother if I was doing this at home. Of course, it's important to give that a bit of a browning on the top. So the old blowtorch coming back out again. Seems to be just going black. Skipping brown and going black immediately. Perhaps I should have put the onions on as a last touch. They're already pretty caramelised, aren't they? Is that enough, do you think? I think I'm going to call that done. It doesn't look quite the way it looks in the Swiss Alps, but sure it'll be okay. Should add, I do actually have some wine with me before you get disappointed. I've brought along some Bourgogne Hautes-Côtes de Nuits from Philippe Gavinier, but I think I'm actually going to save this for later. I'm going to perhaps have a glass at Rollright Stones, at this rate probably at sunset, and then not sure how I'm getting back. I think that might be quite nice, and it will my walking will probably be a little bit more efficient if I don't have a couple of glasses of wine with lunch. I'm just going to tuck in, eat my my take on Käsespätzle. For future note, I think definitely better to put the onions on as a last touch. That aside, a slight bit of charring on the onions, that's pretty nice. I love that sort of squidgy, spongy texture of spätzle. Stringy cheese, the Chipping Norton Railway, one of the main proponents, is that right? The main person who campaigned to have it built in the first place was the owner of Bliss's Tweed mills. So it feels very fitting somehow. Here I am, Tweedy, on a line that was built partly at least to serve a nearby tweed mill. Who knew there were tweed mills in Oxfordshire? Lunch done and dusted. It's a bit after 1 o'clock now. Gives me, I think it's about a 3-hour walk actually from Kingham here to the Rollright Stones, so I'll get there in time for sunset and then try and figure out how I'm actually getting home. This is the railway bridge over the old railway line. Heading off in that direction, the line would have gone to Chipping Norton. There's just one Chipping Norton. There's just one stop between here and there. Something halt. I'll put it on the screen. Back in this direction, that's the little bit of open access land where I was just having lunch, and the line bends around there, and you can just about see beyond the trees over there, Kingham station. That's where it connected with the main line. This is starting to feel a bit like a Paul Whitewick video, but with about 1% of the budget. I was actually talking to Paul on Tuesday. Hi Paul, if you're watching, I will be featuring on the next episode, which may even already be available by the time you see this video, of the Wessex Ways podcast. It's quite a different style of video making, when it's a little bit more like an interview format. I was being asked questions rather than me just babbling on about anything I wanted to talk about, so there were a lot more ums and ers and sort ofs and kind ofs, and perhaps a bit more difficult to actually sort out any discernible meaning from what I was babbling on about, even harder than usual. But it was a fun experience. Nice to have a chat with Headley, hi Headley, and Paul about Wessex and outdoorsy stuff and history stuff and wine and tweed and all the good stuff, really. In Kingham proper now, there's a very grand looking residence, manor I suppose, the manor house of the village. Cotswolds stone cottages. There is a village pub. I probably could have saved myself some effort rather than cooking my lunch in the woods back there, but I'm always a bit sceptical about Cotswolds pubs, if I'm honest. I imagine they're all very gastro-pubby and very unlikely to be my sort of thing. Warning, don't piss off the fairies. Good advice. A shame about the white van, but that's a rather fine looking coaching in there. I assume the interior, every single inch, is covered with Farrow and Ball paint. Heading out of Kingham now. The weather forecast was a bit patchy, but it's looking nice now. This probably isn't an ideal road to be walking along because it's national speed limit, and there have actually been quite a few cars passing in the short time I've been on it, but not long. Just up ahead I'll be able to get off this road, and nice old track if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay, that's a good start. Not too bad actually, there's enough bank along the side, but I was briefly for a moment there taken back to the Oxgrove Cranbourne Chase. Yeah, this certainly feels quite reminiscent of the Oxgrove. Managed to injure myself already on those thorny bushes along the side of this track. Oh dear. For the time being, this route is roughly parallel. I'm walking down here and the old railway line is running along there, so I'm roughly parallel with it. And that halt I mentioned earlier, the one station on the line between Kingham and Chipping Norton, is down there, Sarsden Halt. I'm not going to take a detour to go and look at it because I assume there's nothing to see now. It was probably never a very sophisticated station even when it was open. Quite a nice little stretch of road, this one actually. But, sorry, terrible camera work time. Spin you round, try and do it slowly. I think I'm done with this section of road now. My way follows along back on an old track once more. Quite a nice old track, this one. Has a definite feeling of could well be ancient. Come to the end of that old track now. Another section along a road. This is all vaguely familiar still. A few snowdrops down there. I think the first ones I've seen out in the wild this year. Only a very short section of the A44, and it does have a footpath along the sides, not too bad. Entering the village of Salford now. There is the Black Horse pub, never been in. Again, I assume every inch inside is covered with Farrow and Ball paint, but who knows, I could be wrong. Right, now on the Darcy Dalton Way or Shakespeare's Way, they both follow the same route for a section here. That should take me all the way to the back of the Rollright Stones. This looks nice and muddy. Ugh, look at that. Brilliant. Just look at the state of that. Nice wooded section now. Progress is a bit slow because my feet are so heavy from all the mud that's stuck to them. Nice light now. I'm possibly in silhouette, but occasionally, from time to time today, I've had this sense that spring is just round the corner. There's birds tweeting. Seen a few flowers start to break through. I mean, they are the snowdrops and so forth, the things that do normally flower in winter, but it doesn't really feel wintry today. This feels more like very early spring, and we're still in January. Nice little stream. I wonder if I can use that to clean my boots. Probably a waste of time because I only get muddy again. Another muddy bit. Squelch. Nice Cotswolds hills over there though. How wonderfully serene, apart from the shotgun. It's a surprisingly fancy gate for a path in the middle of nowhere. Wow, that's pretty grisly. Ugh. Very gloomy section of the path there. I think we're in on the edge of the village of Little Rollright. There's not really a lot to Little Rollright. I doubt you can see it because it's very similar colour to all the trees over there, but there is a little church, a farm, and that's about it. The name Rollright may derive from Brythonic. Obviously it's been heavily anglicised now, and it may come from a phrase Rodland Rix, I think I've got that right, which is Brythonic to mean wheel enclosure groove. Sounds very technical, doesn't it? Like something you'd have done to your car during your MOT. The groove is a reference to the nearby valley, possibly, and the wheel enclosure is a description of the stone circle itself. Now at the edge of the site. I think I made pretty good time there. I thought it was going to be about 3 hours, or just under, from Kingham. Done it in about two and a bit. Pretty good. 3:15, so still got a good hour or so before sunset, which is nice. I can enjoy the site now. I mean, the downside about the Rollright Stones is that it is a bit of a trek from the nearest station, so it's taken me about 2 hours from Kingham, 2 and a bit perhaps, and I've been hardly seeing anyone along the route. Been through sort of quiet country paths, but of course there is a car park right next to Rollright Stones. So I remember this from my previous visit. As soon as I get here there will actually be a throng of people, which is frustrating. I've made all this work to get here on foot to this remote part of Oxfordshire, and actually part of the site goes into Warwickshire, and all these people have just showed up in their cars. So I'll be leaving the Shakespeare Way, or is it Mr. Darcy Way, Darcy Dalton Way now, and interestingly it's all private land that the Rollright Stones complex is on, but there are permissive footpaths starting here at the Shakespeare Way. This is the Whispering Knights. These are the Whispering Knights. It is a dolmen, a chamber that would presumably have originally been part of a long barrow, and that plants it very square in the Neolithic era, making it the earliest part of this site, possibly even early Neolithic. Interesting parallels there between here, sites like Avebury, where also there was a long barrow established long before the henge and the stone circles we see today. 1,000 years of time between the two. I'm not sure of the exact gap, perhaps I'll put it on screen, between the likely date of the Whispering Knights and the rest of the complex here at Rollright. So this is the monument that sort of established this as an important site, and everything else followed from there. A lot of cars here, look at that. Quite an impressive view from this side, the Kingstone. Interestingly, we're actually in Warwickshire now rather than Oxfordshire. I believe the road marks the county boundary there. This is the Kingstone. It is the most recent of the three monuments, well into the Bronze Age, and may just be a burial marker, a grave marker. Its use is slightly less clear compared to the other two parts of the site. We're doing these slightly out of order, but of course we want to build up to the stone circle finally. Not sure if it's some kind of special event in the neo-pagan calendar. There does seem to be a lot of people here in eccentric attire. I'm not just talking about the tweed. So this, of course, is the main event. The King's Men. This was likely late Neolithic or possibly early Bronze Age, so it comes in between the other two monuments here at the Rollright Stones complex in terms of dates. Neolithic limestone, quite irregular shapes. I don't know if this is weathering. It's more susceptible to weathering than the sarsen stones used at Avebury. Perhaps smaller stones to begin with. Sun's just about managing to get through the clouds, the gap in the trees there, and it's quite nicely illuminating this one stone at the moment. The rest looking a lot less colourful, really picking out that nice yellow lichen. Like and subscribe. Seems like as good a spot as any to open up today's wine. I have some Bourgogne Hautes-Côtes de Nuits from Philippe Gavinier. Don't know what the temperature is now, but it can't be over 10. It does feel a bit chilly, and thus the necessity for the scarf. I think I'm mostly going to enjoy this on the train on the way home, but I did want to have at least one glass here. This rather special location. Cheers. Here's to the Rollright Stones. Getting nice fresh fruit on the nose. Cherries plus other stuff. Lovely concentration and purity on the palate. And that's classic Gavinier. Really good stuff. What a location for it. I do wonder if I'm the first person to have a Bourgogne Hautes-Côtes de Nuits at the Rollright Stones. I would love to hang around a bit longer here at the Rollright Stones, but it's a bit cold actually, and not much daylight remaining. And I think I probably need to get to, I don't know, Chipping Norton if I have any chance of getting back to, it doesn't have a station, but if I have any chance of getting back to civilization. So I'll have to say goodbye to the Rollright Stones. Not quite going to see any bits of the Rollright Stones at sunset, but this is I think as close as we're going to get. I'm heading out back past the Whispering Knights. Is this again the dolmen? I think what I found when I was here before, and a little bit again today, is that it's very sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, transient. People come, and I suppose they're passing by, not really necessarily making a special trip to come here. They're passing by and they see it and park and come and look at the stones for 5 minutes and get back in their cars again. So it was actually nice today to see the, I don't know how they would want to call themselves, the sort of neo-pagans. They were lingering for longer. They were obviously really sitting and appreciating the site on a longer time frame, and not just, you know, 10 minutes and then back in the car. Just walked down a short section of the Shakespeare way there, back where I came, some of it back to sort of Little Rollright. But I think from here I'm actually going to take the road to Chipping Norton. I think this is the most direct route. Bit of a quirky looking sign. Nice little stream, or maybe small river road is crossing over. It's the sort of thing, were you in a car you just whiz past, wouldn't get to see. Isn't that nice? I think. It's a long way to Chipping Norton, it's a long way to go. Look at that. all has a slightly gothic feel to it somehow. Another remnant of Dismantled Railway here. I'm not sure if this could be the same one. This is certainly not on a direct line from Kingham to Chipping Norton. I don't know if the line then came back out of Chipping Norton and extended to somewhere else. I think the official moment of sunset was sort of 5 minutes ago. I don't know if you can just about pick out that tiny little slither of orange on the brow of that hill off in the distance, but I think that's about all we're going to get today. Light is going a bit, but there's still a bit of a nice sky. Perhaps not the most dramatic sunset ever. This is the village of Over Norton, more Cotswold stone here. I'm in Chipping Norton, I forgot the name of it for a minute. Plenty of time for the bus, very tight connection for that train from Charlbury, but I suppose I could always sit in a pub in Charlbury if necessary. I'm going to go to the Sainsbury's there. Great content, Tweedy, keep it up. I'm on the bus to Charlbury. I think we've just gone past Diddley Squat Farm off, you know, that Jeremy Clarkson one. Charlbury now. Probably can't see anything, can you? It's very dark. Just about have enough time, I think, to make the train. Well, I made it. Probably 5 minutes to spare as well. That's pretty good timing. I'm incredibly pleased with how well the logistics worked out there towards the end of the walk. I think that was a good idea to walk to Chipping Norton, get the bus from there, and here I am in time for a train back home. A couple of minutes to spare to say goodbye. So it's been a funny mixed bag of a video, hasn't it? From Käsespätzle to ancient monuments to wine, of course, and tweed, of course, and dismantled railways and all the rest. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been of some entertainment value, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.